citizen sees a water body as a stinky pond, a drainage sewage pool just adjacent to his house, which stinks, and he sees it as a disease causing to his children. Whenever there is a rain, it floods his house.
If there is no agricultural activity in Hyderabad and lakes can become the cause of diseases, stench, and life threatening floods, then why do we continue to have lakes in the city?
All the water bodies were interlinked to stop flooding of Hyderabad city. Now, when these have been encroached, the major reason is flooding of the colonies. Now, these water bodies serve for the purpose of stopping flooding, then to raise the water table, groundwater table, and also to provide drinking water facility to Hyderabad city.
Hyderabad, the urban land, has become a commodity since the merger of the erstwhile Nizam state with Andhra Pradesh because of increasing population. So, as a result, the real estate mafia is looking for the easy source of land, that is water bodies. So, water bodies, you eliminate the farmers by buying the farmland, then the other stakeholders, fishermen and washermen, by poisoning the water and dirtying the water. Once the stakeholders are eliminated, then you are free to use that land, which is worth the gold.
Now we are at the Hashmatpur Lake, which is the classic example of systematic encroachment, and which is the counterpart of Hyderabad Hussain Saga. And the systematic encroachment starts in the first phase. They destruct the surplus wear of and then allow the lake waters to flow away, which happened last 3 years. And today the lake waters have gone down and almost 50% of the lake is empty. One can see at the periphery the encroachment and the soil fillings and also the constructions. In fact, the multi-storied buildings on the periphery are located within the FTL. So this is the tragic part of it. And government, on the name of beautification and restoration of this lake, got the budget of 3.5 crores, and what they did was they only destroyed the surplus wear against the Irrigation Act and created a parallel channel which dewaters the entire waters coming from the catchment area, which is from the 5 lakes in the upstream. So one can see the impact of the dewatering happens with lowering of the lake waters and then slowly eutrophication. Eutrophication is nothing but land formation slowly dominates the aquatic situations, and terrestrial plant species start dominating the aquatic plant species. Like here you can see the terrestrial plant species almost pushing away the water hyacinth, which is an aquatic landform.
To know how ownership was claimed of this land created in the water bodies, we have to first understand the practice of Ek Fasal Patta, or title for single cultivation, introduced during the period of the Nizams.
Now, this Ek Fasal Patta was granted by the then Nizams of Hyderabad to the people who were residing near the lake areas or poor people, because most of the time it was drought rid area. People were allowed to do some cultivation like jawari in the FTL areas, because whenever there was summer time, the water used to recede and people used to sow seeds of jawar and grow their crops. Then what happened is, after this Mrigashira Karte, people were very strictly told to remove everything. That is somewhere around June 6th and June 1st, between 1st and June 6th, so that monsoon will start and lakes would get filled up again. And after the merge in 1956 with Andhra Pradesh, with Andhra, this Ek Fasal word got deleted due to misunderstanding, and only Patta was left out. And people who were cultivating these lands became pattedars of those lands, and they started cultivating it continuously, and they were possessing it as their own property. And this continued even till today.
As rightly pointed out by Shri Thakur Rajkumar Singh, These beneficiaries of ek saal fasal, they were given an impression that they are the landowners and patedars, permanent patedars of that piece of land. In hand in glove with administration, revenue officials particularly, and then the vested political system, they started requesting for land use conversion from an agriculture land to urban constructional purposes. Revenue officials have clearly given them this conversion permission and remarked the same land, its survey number. For example, it is 131 by 2, 3 and 4. This gave them lot of leverage to the beneficiary or the patedar to sell the land to number of people. So this created a perfect mechanism to regularize land reclamation from the lake beds for urban constructional purposes. Unfortunate part is, it is the common man who got in this cobweb.
सही बोलना.
Houses barged into the water. Water did not barge into my house. You know why? A 20-acre lake got encroached into a 12-acre lake.
Hyderabad experienced 70 mm rainfall in 6 days of October 2020. On 13th October alone, the city recorded 19.2 mm rainfall, the wettest day since 1903. Water could not find place in lakes and started flooding colonies in and around many water bodies across the twin cities. Jalpalli Lake overflowed and Gurram Charavu Lake at Balapur was breached by authorities partially on the 13th October to let out excess water that was flooding colonies at the back. But the pressure of water totally breached the bund at Gurram Charavu on 16th October, causing flash floods. With nalas encroached or narrowed, it spilled onto roads and submerged houses and businesses in its course through Baba Nagar, Krishna Reddy Nagar, Uppagoda, Arundhati Colony, Yakubpura and Azampura to finally reach Mallakpet, that is 18 kilometers away.
मैं न्यू मलकपेट में रहता हूँ.
I've been living in New Malakpet since 70 years, and there has been no flooding here in CIB quarters before. But now, the floodwaters came until this level.
The devastation did not spare anyone: the poor, the middle class, and the rich. Villas of celebrities reported to be priced at 5 crore rupees and above also faced nature's fury. The meek and the mighty were equally humbled. These floods also took away at least 50 precious lives of Hyderabad.
पानी एकदम तेज हो गया. हम लोग सीढ़ियों गेट के सामने सीढ़ियों पे ठहरे थे.
We were standing outside my home. When the floodwaters came, they took my brother, 3 daughter-in-laws, and 2 grandchildren with it. The whole platform collapsed.
On an average, there is a lake within 3.5 square kilometers in Hyderabad, and with water hitting 18 kilometers away as the same in Mallakpet, every house and every family of Hyderabad has now become vulnerable. Floods in Hyderabad have become a matter of life and death in Hyderabad. Why has this happened?
The flooding that has happened in Hyderabad has happened in 2 different ways. First time on the 13th of October, when it rained heavily, we were not able to discharge the water when we should have. All our sluices were jammed, we were not able to let go of the water, and so the water kept on filling and went further and further and further up, and then inundated all the houses in the foreshore of the tank and in the shoulders of the tank. The second thing that happened is, this happened in Usman Nagar. The second thing that happened is that in places like Baba Nagar, in places like Al Jubair colony, what actually happened is that you have the Gurram Cheruvu tank, which could not any longer hold the water, so the bund breached. And on the night of 17th, when the bund breached, we had no way of controlling the flow that was going into all the houses, and this water took a lot of septage also along with it. So it was full of fecal matter, and all the houses were completely damaged.
People buy these lands without realizing the underlying scam and spend their hard-earned money to construct houses on what are actually lake beds. And so their houses get submerged regularly. Over 500 houses in Usman Nagar are still underwater even 1 month after the floods in October 2020. Generally, it is the poor who are blamed for encroachment of water bodies, but actually it is the rich, big-ticket builders and even government who are guilty of massive encroachments. It is not just encroachment of lake beds, but also jamming and closure of age-old sluices for letting excess waters out that are costing many colonies to submerge.
New construction should not be allowed, or the land conversion should not
The
be
Shahatab
allowed for
Talab
construction
has
in
two
the
outlets,
land bed.
one built during the Qutub Shahi era and the other is a modern outlet built by the GHMC. If these two outlets were open, Toli Choki would have been saved during the October floods.
Along with encroachment of lakes, the nalas are also narrowed. Free flow of water through the nalas is tampered by building roads on their path. Even houses and commercial buildings are constructed on the top of the nalas that greatly reduces the passage available for flow of water. When there's a discharge from the lakes in large quantities, the water cannot go through the narrow passages left in the nalas, and so enter and flood houses and roads.
The recent devastation of floods could have been averted had the government had a proper maintenance and checking on the encroachment of land by the innumerable people, scrupulously following the provisions of Land Encroachment Act 1905. Provisions of Land Encroachment Act scrupulously clearly says that no encroachment shall be allowed in the land. The government issued GO 111 with a view to and in order to protect the water bodies, that is two water bodies, Usman Sagar and Himayat Sagar, which provides drinking water to the twin cities of Hyderabad. Within the radius of 10 kilometers, no development or construction is permitted, and beyond that there is a buffer zone which is called buffer zone. In that area also, no activities of construction or development is permitted.
2 acts and 1 GO, namely Section 24 of Telangana Land Revenue Act of 1317, firstly on 1905 AD, Volta, Water, Land and Trees Act and GO 111 are available for protection of water bodies. Armed With these laws, any person can make a complaint to the Gram Panchayat, local municipal bodies, collector, National Green Tribunal, the High Court or the Supreme Court for necessary action against any encroachment of water bodies or other public or government lands.
I used to go for a walk daily near Sarunagar Lake. I found the Sarunagar Lake to be in a very bad condition. The lake was subjected to encroachment, and garbage was being dumped inside, and the lake was vanishing gradually. Then I took the people and I started the movement, the Save Lake movement, and then we collected people and went to government officials. We could not get much help from them. Ultimately, I filed a public interest litigation in High Court, and then I myself argued in the court about the plight of Sarunagar Lake, and then the court was very much pleased, and it gave an order to revive the lake and revive 170 lakes listed by Huda in Hyderabad.
एनक्रोचमेंट एक ऐसी टूल है जिसको लेकर के आप जब पीटना शुरू करेंगे गरीब लोगों को पीटेंगे और किसी को नहीं पीटेंगे.
If the government wants to enforce the encroachment lands, it is first going to enforce them on poor people. Yes, there are instances of government punishing the rich people, like in the case of Ayyappa Society, where 30 houses were demolished because the builder didn't keep 30% of the land as a park. The poor has to go somewhere. They have to build their places inside the city. So the government should make the laws such that the poor are able to live in the city without encroaching the lake beds.
तो लोग क्या करेंगे? तो कहीं से तो घुसना है ना उसको. कहाँ जाएंगे?
Indeed, it is not always the orders of the courts and the NGTs are followed, and the high and the mighty still manage to protect their encroachments, even as the poor and the middle class see their dwellings demolished. There seems to be 4 ways in which citizens can address the issues of encroachment of water bodies and their protection that have now become a matter of life and death for the people as well as the city. The first and simplest way is to report any encroachment you see on water bodies or public lands through land or debris filling or erection of fences by calling 1800 599 0099, a special helpline number of the GHMC that was started on the 5th of July 2020. Remember, the identity of the complainant is kept strictly confidential. The second is to reclaim and protect the water bodies in your areas through community action.
I'm a resident living in a colony surrounding this lake, Nerella. Because lack of maintenance, this lake became like converted to a garbage dump. We pulled up close to 2.5 lakhs and started dredging the lake, strengthening the bunds, and also planted a few trees. Then we reached out to the ITCSR forum funds, and many of the companies have come voluntary and put a lot of trees. This is a great collaboration between public and government to restore a water body to the maximum.
The third part the citizens can take is to approach the National Green Tribunal and the courts of law for protection and restoration of the water bodies in their areas.
People should come together and they should approach the government to protect the lakes and water bodies. And even if they don't find good response, they can go to court of law And even if the government itself is encroaching, they can go against the government also and fight the case.
One refrain that is heard often is about the direct involvement, indirect patronage, or indifference of political leaders of different levels in the illegal encroachments of water bodies and government and Waqf lands. So, the fourth and the very important action required from the citizens is to make protection of water bodies an issue for all elections, from the panchayat, municipal, assembly to the Lok Sabha, along with issues like education, health, and employment and civic amenities and security. It is the time that all citizens demand that a new act must be passed immediately by the government that will reclaim all the lands of full tank level of water bodies and along nalas, make permanent fencing mandatory, provide compensation to all those who were sold lands in and around water bodies fraudulently before demolishing their buildings, and initiate stringent action and prosecute officials and parties responsible for conversion of lands and water bodies into residential or commercial plots.